We are starting with the next session, the session 2. A very warm welcome to the second session of the third day of Integrated Refresher Program. Rubrics can help clarify your expectations and will show students how to meet them, making students accountable for their performance in an easy-to-follow format. The feedback that students receive through a grading rubric can help them improve their performance on revised or subsequent work. Smart grading techniques in learning management systems leverage rubrics and feedback tools to enhance efficiency and provide clear, actionable feedback to students. Rubrics offer structured criteria for assessment, while feedback tools facilitate personalized and timely communication, leading to improved learning outcomes. Today's second session is on smart grading techniques using rubrics and feedback tools in LMS by Dr. P. Baba Jnanakumar, who is abreast with the latest technology and tools and uses it extensively for academic evaluation and grading. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the resource person for this session, Dr. P. Jnanakumar. He is a director for consultancy and corporate training, Prasujayanti College, Bengaluru. Dr. P. Baba has a vast experience of 33 years in academia. He was a gold medalist in commerce and has received the medal from the then President, His Excellency K.R. Narayanan. He has received many awards, of which some of them are the awards for the best research paper from IIMB and IIMK, Research Paper Award for the project on ICT-enabled SEM from IIT Delhi, Distinguished Faculty Award from ICBM Hyderabad, AIMS International Award, Academic Excellence Award in Dubai, and he has published 78 research articles and presented 161 papers in various conferences. He has been trained by IIM Bangalore on leadership traits, and he has served as a former principal of a private college in Coimbatore. He served as an executive member in Association of Indian College Principals and has completed 25 research projects. He is a member in the AIMS, AIB, AICP, and he has delivered 120 sessions as a resource person. We are indeed privileged to have such a versatile academician with us today. Sir, we kindly request you to take over the session.
Thank you, Priya, madam, and thank you, dear participants. And today my session is about how to create the smart grading system. Let us share my presentation. Yes. Yes, first of all, greetings from Prasujayanti College, Bangalore. I hope there are few participants from outside Bangalore also. It is my immense pleasure to address all of you with regard to the smart grading system. As the topic is very clear, today we are going to discuss how to create a smart grading system with our LMS system. LMS hereby refers to the learning management system. And the main aim of this presentation is about how to make a nice assessment with regarding the grading strategies. That is the core aim of this one. So my presentation is about all those things. We will going to discuss about the most of the components here, starting from the smart grids, then what is the need for smart grading system, then what is the role given by the UNESCO with regarding to the LMS, then based upon the UNESCO components, I identified the components, that is how to create adaptive learning paths, then how to create the phased content rollouts, what are all the architectural walkthroughs in LMS, What are all the leaderboards which are used especially for the higher education system? Then how to create a culture of shared learning system? What are all the complex scenarios we can include in the LMS? Once we completed all those things, we can go for AI-powered performance analytics. So these are all the main components we are going to discuss. After that, what are all the challenges we are facing in case of such type of AI-based assessment system? Finally, the wrap up. That is my presentation. So here we are going to discuss these points. The smart grading system is impossible without smart grades. Once you design your LMS in such a manner that we can go for creating our own rubrics, then we can't go for the grading system. That is why I wish to discuss morely on smart grids, which is used for the smart grading system. The smart grids are simple thing in which we can automate the entire learning management system. Usually, it is used in case of AI assist grading. We can use artificial intelligence for the purpose of assisting the entire grading system. I will show first the example, then we will see how we can create. As I already mentioned, if you want to go for smart grading system, we need smart content. Once you create a smart content, automated grading system will work, because whatever grading, this grading and assessment is purely based upon your LMS content. What are all the things in the LMS content? Based upon that only, we can create the automated assessment system. That is the core aim. So in smart grading, it is a structured assessment. There won't be any deviation. Even if second time you evaluate the same paper, the marks will be same. That means the grade will be same. That is why we need such type of smart grading system. The aim clearly mentioned that we need accurate evaluation, instant feedback. If it is in online mode, you can give an instant feedback to the students immediately. Of course, it will enhance our efficiency, reduce most of the burnout. Every day students are coming and asking, give me 2 marks, give me 3 marks. All those things will be removed, and we will go for 100% fairness system in examination system. That is the purpose of this one. Here are some of the examples. That is software we are using for the purpose of smart grading. Usually, these type of softwares are integrated with the learning management system. Of course, in Christy Jayanti College, we will integrate quickly, but I am telling the examples. This is the InStructure software, which is used in most of the higher education institution for the purpose of AI-assisted grading. It is used mainly in case of only online assessment. But you can see the another example of Zoho. This is another example. In this software, you can even evaluate the offline papers, and it will measure the performance of the students clearly based upon their activity, what they already performed in case of your LMS. If they are not performed any activity inside the LMS, it won't grade. That is the biggest drawback of this one. Mostly this Zoho is used in case of the most of the industries. Even in case of the HDFC Bank, the training module is purely based upon the Zoho analytics. They are using this one because they wish to create a performance matrix. For this purpose, they are training the entire banking people, so they are using this one. This is normally used in industry, but very, very accurate and very intelligent networking system for the grading. Another example which is used in case of University of Miami in US. It is a nice intelligent grading platform in which the faculty members in University of Miami is using for the purpose of evaluating the students both offline and online papers. Only in case of offline, they have to use the scanner, or nowadays we are having the Google Lens or Google Glass, which can be used as the scanner for evaluating. But the problem, the students' handwriting. And they are using three types of evaluation system, which is integrated with the LMS. Even if a student used some of the mathematical formulas, you can see here, and these type of mathematical signs, everything will be evaluated automatically. That is the advantage. Whenever the student is writing in the notepad in online system, it will evaluate whether the student is working on procedure by procedure. That is the advantage of this one, which is used in Miami. Another one, here is the another example of this one. This is the grade scope. This grade scope is used in both offline and online. This will automatically integrate with our LMS system. That is the advantage of this grade scope. And it will tell clearly about the student's activity, whether the students perform the activities and whether the student is going according to the pathway what we created, and whether everything is working smoothly. Based upon that, it will work for the students, and you can find out clearly the students' assessment system and the grading for each and every student clearly. And it is used in most of the universities, including Purdue University, New York universities. Most of the universities in American continents, they are using this type of grading system, especially for the purpose of mathematics and pure science. Next one is the CrowdMark. This is the another software which we can integrate with our LMS, and most of the higher education is usually for this one for the psychology. You can see the University of Toronto, Northwestern, Michigan State University, Georgia Tech University. They are using for psychology, biology, even for engineering subjects. Whatever the students are writing, it will give immediately the personalized feedback. All the mathematics, science, everything has been loaded. So only thing we have to give training to the students in such cases. If you are using this type of CrowdMark software, easily we can integrate with our any MOOC or anything which are used in our system. That is the one software. Another software, very nice one. Even we have tried this one and made it successful. This is called Akindi, and nice software. Even you can evaluate your own internal assessment papers, which is written in offline, as well as even in online also. Online, all the others are using. Here you can use this type of software for the purpose of valuing even your internal papers. You can only scan the paper and you can feed that one. Only thing, your rubric should be very clear and your LMS should be very clear. Based upon your LMS contents, it will use this used in Florida International University and Waterloo, Marshall also. Even you can input the paper with the scanner, it will give the results immediately. We tried and made it successful also for one subject here. But for all those things, very important thing is your content. Your smart grid only work. Once your content is clear, then only it will consider everything. If your content is not clear, if the content is not according to the standards, what I am going to tell in future, if your content is according to the standards set by this corporations. Then only you can nicely integrate these type of smart grading system. First essential thing, your content should be in a single page, and you can take a simply PDF file of the entire content and give the input to the software, as well as you have to give the rubrics for your evaluation. Once you give both things, it will automatically evaluate. Here is an example where we used successfully and tested in one paper called High Stake Leadership, and all the faculty who are handling this paper are very cooperative, and we try to use that one, and it is made successful in offline as well as in online. Online activities are clearly verified by the software. Only thing we have to download and input, because we are not integrated in Christ Jayanti College, but we can download everything and give us an input. Once you give us an input, you can evaluate. But very important thing is your LMS should come under the smart grid. If it is not coming under the smart grid, it won't find the answers. Because when the assessment is going on, say for example, if there is a student called Ravi, it will find out whether he performed the activities, whether Ravi created any forum or everything, it will evaluate. At the end, after giving the score, it will tell where the students made the mistake. So that is the concept of smart grids, which is used for smart grading system. And you can see all the students chat, forums, everything you have to give us an input plus your entire smart content. This is a very good example what we made it as successful here. The rubrics you have to give, and rubrics are very important. Here is an example what we are given as an input. You know, the midterm examination, especially for our MBA students, we are having section B, A, B, C, as well as the case study. Once the question paper has been designed, here the question paper has been designed by one of our faculty, Dr. Devika. Then we created the rubrics for the internal assessment system. Once we created the rubrics, you can see this course called High Stake Leadership. So all the questions we have designed the rubrics, and the rubrics are based upon the content inside the LMS. That is very important. You can't give any other thing, because when it creates the report, it will check why the student got poor marks. What is the main reason? It will find out. That is why you have to create the rubrics. Once you given the rubrics, then you can input in any one of the software what I have given. Already we have discussed Gradiscope or anything, and you can get the output. If it is in a physical paper, only one thing you can scan and give, or you can use the scanner in your mobile phone. Easiest way is Google Glass. If you wear the Google Glass, it will integrate with this one and it will give the results immediately. You can see the progress report for the one of the paper, High Stake Leadership. The answers written by the section A students, we checked. And it has given clearly what are the output, what is the feedback from the students, how the students has written. It compared the LMS content along with the students. Then it given the recommendation for the students as well as the faculty, a nice recommendation. Then it has given the marks. Based upon your rubrics, what will be the marks? It has given the mark. The paper has been evaluated using the Google Glass, then it will classify the summary of that one. That is why we need some type of smart grading system. You can see the feedback and it has given. Since some of the students are not done their case study well, it was given 500-word analysis of Ratan Tata. And some of the students, they had done well in LMS, but lagged in contextual analysis. It has given a nice output. This is what we required. In today's presentation, we are going to discuss how to do this thing. I hope now you might have understood the contextual format of today's presentation. If you want to get the result like this, first part is you have to design your LMS in such a manner. This comes under the micro learning. And we are having specific standards for that one. Then we have to create the rubrics. Then only the evaluation. First part is very clear. If you need the smart grading, we need the smart grades. Without rubrics, it won't evaluate. It is equivalent to an evaluation by a machine, but the drawback is only handwritten. It will recognize more than 325,000 English handwritten. Even regional languages now, it is able to understood. But some of the students, here in my class in section A of MBA, there are around 55 students. We checked with 28 students. Other students handwritten are not recognized, but it evaluated. And it has given the marks. We compared with the manual evaluation with the system evaluation. Both are coming approximately equal. Most of the cases, it will give direct feedback to the students. You have not written this point. In LMS activity, you are done. If a student doesn't perform the LMS activity, it clearly told, this question is asked based upon this activity, but you are not performed the activity in LMS. That is the reason why you are unable to score the marks. So based upon this thing, we are discussing. So rubrics is very, very important. Here, without rubrics, we can't do. And the rubric should be assigned with your LMS content. You can't give other than anything from your LMS content. So your LMS content should be clear. You can get the LMS content from various sources, and you can make it as a hidden one. That's what we are going to discuss today. It is not necessary that all the LMS content should be visible. Only for the learners who are learning slow, we can showcase the entire content. Others, we can showcase only limited. So the content is very important here. That is why we need the smart content system. So that is the aim. So how you have to design your LMS content? You have to design your LMS content. For the LMS content, there are some standards. First standard, we used to call it as SCROM, Shareable Content Object Reference Model, because your LMS content should be read by AI. If AI is unable to read according to the learning outcomes, it is waste. Outcomes are important. Under the SCROM model of the standards, outcomes are well defined. Based upon this outcome only, you have to create your LMS content. That is the first standard used in LMS. Second one, mostly we are using Tin Can Application Programming Interface, XAPI. This is used in case of most of the system, especially in case of MOOC. If you are using everything, it is the another one is the structural learning modules. This is the another standard introduced in European countries, in which it is fit for the skill development also. Whether the student is able to achieve their skills, it is reflected in case of structural learning models. That is the standard. Then in IMS Global also created one standard. We used to call it as learning tools interoperability standards. Whatever you are creating, it should be interoperable with other standards. Then only we are able to evaluate. This is identified by the IMS Global. Last one, for the purpose of industries, most of the industries are now getting their ISO certification. So ISO also mentioned the standard for LMS design. what should be the content of the LMS design, especially for the industry people. Recently, we had one discussion with the HDFC people. They clearly told you can give a training for HDFC people, but you have to use the ISO IEC 32001. Of course, here I mentioned 42001, that is for artificial intelligence. They clearly mentioned that you can give training, but use the ISO IEC 32001 standards. That means your LMS, you have to design according to the standards of the ISO manual. So these are all the standards. As a faculty, we must know. It is not simply copying and pasting or writing clearly. Your content should be measurable. If your content is coming under any one of the standard, I think now except LTI, even now LTI, they are going to integrate with that one. You can use the smart grading system. So very important, your content should come under the any one of the LMS standard. That is why in case of QS ranking for higher education institution, there is one criteria clearly mentioned. Student experience and satisfaction. They clearly mention that QS stars is a complementary rating system. It will rate your LMS. Of course, in India, we are not moving towards the QS standard system. If you visit the IISc, Indian Institute of Science, they are using the QS standards for 8 courses nicely. Because in case of QS ranking, they will verify your LMS also, whether your LMS content is coming under any one of the standards, global standards. Because in case of QS ranking, the weightage is very high. That is why in case of QS ranking, it clearly mentions that your LMS should have dynamic, engaging, and it should have a personalized learning ecosystem. The weightage for the higher education for teaching and learning is purely based upon the LMS. And the LMS, it has given some standards, how the mark, that is grading, has been given. So that is the another purpose why we have to go for the standardization of your content. In case of India also, now recently, 1 month back, Ministry of Higher Education organized a nice program in which they clearly mentioned that why can't government can initiate towards the new method of LMS like the industrial standard. We, in case of India, still now the level of employability is less. However, it improved. The globally employable standards for Indian students are only 55%. That means 55% of the Indian graduates are employable. Of course, it increased from 51% to 55%. They wish to improve that standards. In case of 3 countries, the employability standards from the higher education institute is more than 80%. So even in Ministry of Higher Education is thinking about why can't we can go for directly QS ranking system, the standards given by the QS ranking system. So definitely in future, we have to move towards the new method. And UNESCO already introduced this thing, how to create this smart content. And this UNESCO initiative method is already followed by some of the organizations as well as the higher education institutions. You can see the example of the University of Antwerp, in which they are using the LMS system based upon the UNESCO initiatives. It is very clear how to use that UNESCO standards. And UNESCO mentioned clearly what are all the contents of the LMS so that we can go for standardized fairness grading system. And they also introduced the online courses for that purpose. In case of India, we are still following the scale council system and SWAYAM and the 4 quadrant. Of course, 4 quadrants are the basic. When the 4 quadrants are expanded, we have to go towards the other method. You can see the UNESCO, they created nicely all the system. Even UNESCO clearly mentioned that the Moodle should be integrated with the new standards. And they clearly created one sample for that one from Indian Higher Education Institution. I think, Indian Institute of Science and one university from North, I think from Haryana, they tested and it went on successfully how to integrate the UNESCO model with the LMS. So the main aim for smart content is moving towards inclusion. The concept of equality over. The concept of equity over. We have to go for inclusion. Open the barriers of education. We have to change. By seeing this image, you have to understand what is the meaning of inclusion. Once we thought that equality, every student is equal and teaching method should be equal, then we changed to equity. We had to give more importance to slow learners like that. But now it is not like that. Move towards inclusion. Remove the barrier. That is what UNESCO mentioned. The barrier is the skill set. If the skill set is clearly defined, we can go for the new methodology. You can see the LMS component which is mentioned by the UNESCO clearly. It identified all these components, which is coming under the ISO standards as well as the Scorpio standard. If your content is coming under this heading, the standards are very clear. You can see as per these standards, you should have the adaptive learning path, phased content, architectural workouts, leaderboards. Up to this, we are having in MOOC already. Bridging theory to practice is needed. Most of the faculties are doing, but now it is standardized. Then shared learning, most of the institutions in MOOC, they are doing clearly. Navigating to complex situations and scenarios. Finally, the AI-powered performance analytics. We have to move towards the new grading system. Once it is achieved, we can move towards the new smart grading. We'll see one by one. First, the introduction for learning paths. Why we need learning paths? The simple thing. We have to bring the students according to our course structure. There are 3 types of LMS. First one is for blended learning program. Second one is for online program. And third one is for industrial training program. In case of QS ranking, they are giving importance only for the industrial training. Whether your LMS content can be used by the industrial training people, whether our students are able to be employed in industry. So in QS ranking, the institutional level of LMS, they are giving more weightage for the industrial training. Of course, this is very tough and few institutions are using that one. In normal colleges, we are using the blended learning, both offline and online. Online only means we have seen the SWAYAM portal, minimum 4 quadrants are needed. Industrial training, we need everything in real-time optimization. That is for the adaptive learning path. Then coming to the phased content rollouts. In blended learning, what we are already used, date-wise, first week, what they have to complete. Online, it is entirely different weekly system we are using. Industrial training, once a person completed and they scored full marks, then only it will move on to the next one. That is the phased content rollouts for industrial standards. Then what is the architecture of your LMS? The 10% weightage is given. And here you have to go for the SCORM tracking system for industrial training. That is the first standard, what I mentioned for the LMS. Leaderboards, we are using in normal MOOC, especially mostly the badges and how the students achieved all those things. Bridging theory to practice. And we used to call it a sandbox training, a case study method. Blended learning, we are using case study inside the classroom and the students are writing in online mode. But in online system, we need simulation. There are a number of softwares which are introduced for the simulation. But industry, this is the live data integration. Simple thing, in case of HDFC Bank, they created one system, how to identify the fake Indian rupee notes without any mission. The person who is training in that one should take 100% mark, then only he can move to the next level. So those who are working in HDFC Bank, they must know clearly how to identify the fake note without any machine. The training module is designed in case of a 5 simulator system. And they will give in the simulation method number of notes. The person who is using that one should identify. If they identify it correctly, then only they can move on to the next level. That is the industrial training model. And the governments are insisting such type of training in higher education, not in school education. Since we are moving towards the higher education, in postgraduate level, the QS ranking already implemented and the government is expecting. In case of European Union, it is must for the higher educational institutions who are doing in post-graduation. Likewise, shared learning. We are already using the wiki. I think our Suku sir will explain clearly all those things in future sessions. And industrial training, it is based upon the how a person is linking with mentors if there is any issues. That is the AI-based knowledge system. Complex situation, how we are going for real-time variable. Don't give A, B, C like variables. Give original variables so that the students will find out clearly. Then only they are going for the last one, the AI-powered performance analytics. Once all the above steps are completed, then only you are able to go to the grading system. Otherwise, the grading system is absolutely waste. And the grading system should be fair. Even if you are evaluating 2 times or 3 times, same grade should come. Such a system has been identified. Now, let us see one by one. First concept is called the adaptive learning path. And it is used for the personalized training. Before going to the subject, you have to understood clearly that what type of adaptive learning path we need. You have to bring the students into the core subject. For your course, your outcome will be different compared to the other courses. A student will study 2 or 3 courses, but you have to bring the students to your course. How to bring? That is the question mark. Here are some examples. That is why we are using the knowledge level test. Like our pre-test, it is called as knowledge level test. Based upon the knowledge level test only, your LMS content should be there. Whether you need more content or less content, or whether we need simulation type, or whether we need case study, it should be based upon a standard. For that standard, we need some adaptive learning path. Here I have given us some example. Then I will showcase one real example. Say, for example, why Mahatma Gandhi is referred to as Mahatma. This question is called in leadership. Same question may be asked in 10th standard or in 4th standard or in 6th standard. Their learning outcome is different. If you ask the same question in 3rd third class students, he will answer in a different method. He will call. He is considered as the father of nation, so he is called as the Mahatma. But this same question is asked in the leadership program in management. So what is our expectation? So there are more answers. All the answers are correct. So we have to identify. This is the model of the adaptive learning path grid. You can see here, he led the Indian struggle for independence through non-violent means. That is why he is called as Mahatma. That is also correct. Second option, he inspired mass movements and united people. That is also correct. He advocated for economic and self-reliance. That is also correct. He promoted spiritual values and created. That is also correct. There is no answer called all the above. We are not going for such type of level. So when a student is answering based upon one objective type question, we are able to measure entire adaptive learning path. That depends upon the faculty. If you are good in a particular subject, must need. Say, when I am handling the leadership, I know my students who are going to study the leadership, they must know why we call Mahatma. My expectation is he led the struggle for independence through non-violent means. That is my expectation. So if a student click that one, we will give full 10 marks. That is 100%. If the student click the B option, he'll give 7.5. All the answers will be shuffled in MOOC and come. So a single question will decide the adaptive path. Faculty members try to find out the adaptive path. If the average marks for this question is only 30%, then your LMS content should be in such a manner that it should be easy to understand and you should have very less reading and easy reading also. If the students are scoring 80% of the mark, you can go for simulation with leadership. It depends upon the faculty and the course. Before creating your LMS, we have to think what will be our adaptive learning path. Here is an example. I am giving the example of the marketing analytics course. In case of marketing analytics course, I expect what is the meaning of the customer. Who is called customer? The students already studied marketing. A person who, if you are a person who is satisfied 100%, is called the customer. Everybody knows. But when it comes to the marketing analytics, I expect something different. In analytics course, if a person is seeing a product, what is the role of marketer? We have to convert that person into a customer. That is the aim. If a student knows clearly that in case of marketing analytics, if any person is seeing the product, if we have to capture them and convert into a customer, and even if he's not buying the product, he has to brand our product. Mostly it is like, you can see, same question I asked. Someone who buys the product is also correct answer. A person who purchases regularly is also a customer. And finally, you can see a potential investor in your brand. I expect that one for marketing analytics. Any person who purchases the product is called customer. But my subject is relating to marketing analytics. In case of analytics, what we will teach, how to convert a person who is entering into digital marketing or offline marketing and convert into a customer. That is my aim. So in this subject, I expect that students must know this one. But when I'm going through that one, they have first point, the student scored 3.14. The average mark scored by the student out of 10 is 3.14. So I can't reject. So what is my expectation? I have to create a LMS in such a manner that the student should learn everything in a structured method. So my content is somewhat big. I have given the input of number of textbooks, and each and every point I have given more points. The LMS contents will be more. Same thing, I am teaching other subject, one subject, the content will be very less because the students scored 7.5. Here, you can see the contents. All the outcomes are well defined. Contents will be more, and it should be readable manner, and it should be easily understandable by the student. And it should be in the minimum level in the first 5 units, first 3 topics. After that, I will try to increase. So my learning outcome, I won't change. I have to bring the students in such a level. You can see my content, it will be high for first 3 topics. Then once again, I created a simulated learning and bringing into the equal level. Then I started giving another one. That is the adaptive learning path. And they can't use any software I created. You can use some software in online and try, then bring back to the normal level. I am not using SPSS or anything. Use available online softwares and tell me what will be the answer. I bring the students into a simulation method. So content will be high and it will be more in such a manner that students should get more marks. Once again, I will conduct the same test and make sure that students understood. That is the purpose of adaptive learning path. Well, some of the students scored 8 points, means for them we need the advanced contents. If you are using AI, it will grade the students and automatically check. So that is the meaning of adaptive learning path. So in case of first part of the, everybody must know clearly that why we are using LMS, what should be the content. The content should be based upon your expectation, your outcome. My outcome is I am going to teach marketing analytics. So I have to convert a small public into a customer. We used to call it as customer funnel type. Anybody can see the ads in internet. If they click the ad, they will see. My aim is to convert that person into a customer to buy the product. That is the marketing analytics. So that is my expectation. My learning outcome is based upon that one. So for that one, I have to create a adaptive learning path. We used to call it as knowledge level questions and bring the students in that level. Based upon that, the LMS content will be fixed. That is the first one. So it is having 15% out of the 100 points for planning management system in case of QS ranking. Then the second component, that is the phased content rollouts. We can't overload the students. Once a student understands basic level, when we are going to the next level, that next level should be based upon the previous one. Previous level should be the base components for that one. I think we know the phased content rollouts. First thing, what are all the contents? It should match with your outcome. If a student completed first module, then only he can move to the second module, provided the course is in such a manner. Some courses, first 2 units will be taught by one faculty, another 2 units will be taught by another faculty. In such case, we can't use. We merged our syllabus in such a manner. In such case, we can't use. The time duration is also some cases very important. The student should complete this entire content within 1 week or 2 weeks. So in case of this smart grid, we have to find out clearly. First component, the student should complete the first. Then After completing the activities and reading that material, students should come. I think in case of Krishna Jayanti College, we are using that one already. Here is an example of one course, what we call it as computational finance. We use that one. You can see in this case, once a student completed the knowledge-based question, then only the next part will open to him. Otherwise, you can't see that one. That is the phase content. And every unit will have the summary key terms. Because once he completed, he must know it is a self-check for the students that whether he completed that one. The key terms should be known. And in case of that one, we can go for STEM teaching. If you are using the STEM pedagogy manner, it is very easy. Here we use the STEM pedagogy system for the purpose of computational finance. So it is made easy. You can see each and every topic will open to the students once they complete it. In case of STEM, the S is very important, scientifically math. Here, simple thing. Only if a student knows the cost sheet, elements of cost sheet, then only he can go for the simulation. Otherwise, he can't go for the simulation. You can see the simulation is there. Cost sheet, he might have studied in some other subject. But when it comes here, he has to simulate with different values. That is the phase content. Without completing one topic, he can't move to the next topic. There are some courses like that. In such case, especially finance course will be like that. We have to create the phase content. And we must know clearly the order. And this order should match with your learning outcome. You can see here, this is the grid. All students should complete all those things. First, he will complete the knowledge-based question. Then he will complete the practical test. Then he will come to the cost sheet. Then he will go for simulation, like that. In a particular course, once a student completed first tick mark, then only he can move to the second one. This is a nice example of the students. They did nicely. In case of MBA, I think 5th trimester. You can see all these things. These are performed inside the classroom. I'm telling about only blended learning. So once they completed each and every activity, it will move. And students can see that one. This is the feedback for the students. Whether the grid, there is a tick mark or not there. If there is tick mark only, he can move to the next. Otherwise, it will stop there. He may take number of leaves. He may not come to the class, but he has to complete. Once he completed, it will move on to the next level. That is called the phase content rollouts. Already we are using this one in the Krishna Jayanti College LMS system. This is called the phase content. We will move on to the next one. Architectural walkthroughs. That is based upon the application in the technical fields. Mostly we are using the architectural things in case of our LMS. First part, it should match our course outcomes. Whatever the activity we are doing, it should match with your course outcome. Here, one of the subject entrepreneurial system, that is venture capital, we created. We are having 3 course outcomes and all the activities should match. That is the architectural walkthrough. First course outcome, only if he completed, he can go to the second course outcome. The course outcomes are like that. You know the rubrics, Bloom's taxonomy. Without understanding, he can't move out. That is the architectural walkthroughs. That is why we created the Bloom's taxonomy. First is the understanding level. Finally, only we will go for the creative level. So whether our LMS content is going in that one, then only when you are creating the smart grid for the purpose of question paper, you will know whether your content is according to the Bloom's level. If you want to ask a question apply level, whether in your LMS content there is an application. If there is no application in your LMS, it won't go up. That is the thing. AI is not designed by anybody. only human being. In case of AI, it will find out whether in your course outcome, whether there's an application, where it is mapped, which activity is mapped. Then only it will create a smart grid. Without Bloom's level, there is no architectural walkthroughs. That is why integrate your course outcomes to all of your activity. Whatever activity we are doing, map your course outcome. In case of Kursu Jayanti College, in KJC LMS team already created the method of mapping as well as giving marks. So try to merge your course outcomes with your activity and follow the architectural walkthroughs. Then only the Bloom's taxonomy level will come. Here is an example how we created the architectural walkthroughs. For each and every activity, we created the course outcomes. And once the course outcome has been identified, the student has to perform, then it will move on to the next stage. Every topic will have the assessment as well as the activity. These assessment and activities are merged with your course outcome. Right? Then only when we are evaluating this course, only I told clearly high stake leadership, automated evaluation. Even in paper level, it did that one. Here's an sample leadership talk the students will do. And there's a question. Leaders should know how to manage failure. So the students made a chat. You can see some of the students made the chat in, because this course is for all the classes. Around 4 faculty members are handling. Once the students completed, then we will see whether it is mapped with the course outcome. First, once they entered, it will come. Then the students' answers. You can see inside the classroom, they did all those things. Once they completed that one, we know whether the students completed according to our expectation. Whether the architectural walkthroughs are satisfied in the first part. Then only it will go to that one. For the assessment, most of them are using the quiz component. All these things comes under the architectural walkthroughs also. We will check a small check, but it is not for assessment. It will check the students' thing. Only if he knows that one, he can perform the activity. It is mapped with the course outcome, so that at the end we will know whether in this topic a student completed the course outcome, whether the student understands this concept. If he fails to understand, he can't go to the next Bloom's level. That is the advantage of creating the architectural walkthroughs in our LMS system. Here is another example. In case of the other paper, ventureship and startup management, we created the architectural walkthroughs nicely. Same thing, we mapped along with all the course outcome. All the students will do that one from different branches. So here, based upon the content, the contents are less. However, they can click and move to that content because their marks are very less, because all the students, psychology students will study this course, even life science students will study, all the students will study. So the content has been designed in such a manner, the architectural walkthroughs are fixed for each and every unit. So every unit, there is an activity and assessment. Every unit is mapped with one course outcome. That is how this course has been defined. Of course, since it is for the other students, the content will be more. That is the another example of the walkthrough. Next is leaderboards. Leaderboards mostly we are using in LMS. We are creating the badges, all those things. This all comes under the leaderboards. You can see a nice example of the leaderboards. Completing the courses, even small courses, All these things comes under the leaderboards. Leaderboards means the students will know whether we are leading, but they can't compare others. How much we learned, how many badges we earned. Badges are available in MOOC. Once they completed, they will get one badge. Once the badges are earned, they know we are leading. That is the leaderboard concept. Here we have created one of the subject. We created the badges. I think this for marketing analytics. We created nicely a badge. Once students completed this activity, he will get the badge. We are leading. That means we completed. Students must know clearly what is their level. That is the purpose of leaderboard. Whether we are completed, even so in case of some of the universities, 1-2 months course they can complete in 1 month, because the leaderboards are created in such a manner. Especially in case of online course, they will know their level. Here is another example. Individual student. I close the name of the individual students. He will know whether he completed the quiz, whether he completed the first chat, then another quiz, all those things. These are the leaderboards for the student. He himself know what is his position. Badges are given and the complete activities we know for the leaderboards. Here is another example we used in case of the paper, financial modeling paper, because these are mostly practicals. In case the leaderboards are purely based upon the completion of every practical activities. This based upon the live examples. This course will happen along with the Bombay Stock Exchange. So immediately they will know what is their level. Here you can see the gradings immediately. Every activity they will know. Once they completed, how many seconds they have taken, what is their score, we can easily know. So that they can improve themselves. It won't come for the final marks. It is used only for the purpose of the students leader, whether the students are moving in such a level. That is the example of that one. Even you can see in case of the board, I think in Krishna Jayanti College, we created nicely with the activity completion. Everybody can know. Same thing, this also comes under the leaderboard for the entire course, what we already discussed. Next one is the bridging theory. This is the micro learn. That is why this architecture is coming within the content. In case of ranking as well as the skill level measurement, you have to clearly mention whether this is coming under the practice. When you are designing your LMS content, you should be very clear that whether it is coming under the practice or only concept. And the data evidence are very clear. Most of the industries, most of the higher education institutions are using. You can very well see in case of the Indian Institute of Science itself, as well as in IIM Bangalore, you can see. Here is a nice example of the one paper in corporate governance, how we created. We have to mention clearly the case studies, everything. Say, for example, you can see what is doing in Wipro, what they are happening in State Bank of India, what they are doing in Mahindra and Mahindra, what they are doing in the L&T. It is very clear and well defined. So when you are creating the smart grading system, you may define this when you are going to evaluate whether the students has given the example of the practice. If it is not in LMS, it won't verify. That is why it should be available in LMS. Concept should be there. After that, you have given an example. Then only it will find out whether the students are given the practical manner, skill-based level. In any evaluation as per the QS ranking system, minimum 40% should be for the practice level. Even if you are teaching core theory. So how it will measure whether you are given the example. If you are not giving the example, it won't come in case of grading. So in the LMS itself, it should have the whether it is theoretical one or it is coming under the practice used by the students. You can see some of our students nicely created what is the practice in the industrial level. So that is the concept of bridging theory and practice in case of any LMS contents. So when we are moving towards the industry level, particular industry, what they are doing, it should be the content in the LMS. LMS are not only used by higher education institution, it is used from the industrial point of view also. Industry is only first introduced, then only it comes to the educational institutions. Likewise, shared learning. Another nice concept. Not only our teaching is important, in higher education level, students can teach for students. That means students can share what they gained inside the class to others. They have to show to others. Then only we can know, okay, our students has gained so much. Even in evaluation method, you may not teach, but you can ask question. Students can't say that it is out of syllabus because some students already told about that information. It is available in the LMS. We are having nice system. I think in our college, our Sukhu sir used to teach that one with the help of Wikipedia nicely. That is also coming under the shared learning system. Here is another example what we used in case of leadership studies, how we created the shared learning system. And inside it, since it is a blended learning, students will perform inside the class. You can see their image will come immediately in the LMS. We integrated in such a manner, and students can share their views either in chat. Here you can see one day on 8th April 2025, 12:36 class, the students shared. One person, Navya Jomi, he mentioned, if Radha Kishan Damani do, what will be the two? Another student said Ania Thomas as Bob Eager. Then Maria Thomas shared as the Narayana Murthy. Then Hans Mary shared as the Brian. So question is same, but they are saying that if this person taken the action, how it should be. That is the shared learning. Shared learning never means that same question with same answer. Question will be same, but students will act in a different manner. Say for example, here you can see Reshma did like a Roshni Nadar. If Roshni Nadar performs this one, how it should be. We can't say that I have not taught the person about the Roshni Nadar, so it is out of syllabus. Students also can't argue. Students shared. If the same problem is handled by such a person, how it should be. That is the shared learning. It depends upon the course. Students should be given the practical awareness, and students should have the power to think. That is the concept of shared learning example. Here's another example. I think you know, here in Kristu Jayanti College, we are having a generic elective course. One course is called Ventureship and Startup Management. All the PG students have a discussion forum with that one. Here you can see the MCA students, then psychology students. All these students will share their opinion with others. Once we taught inside the class, they will take that work. What is happening inside the industry level? You can see one example. Let us see one example. Yes. Unicorn group. I think Vaishali from MSc Microbiology, she mentioned about the unicorn group. Why the people are struggling in unicorn. Previously, in case of India, more unicorns were there, more business units. Now it is decreasing. So this is the opinion-based one. So One student answer will be different with other. Here is the other answer given by the other student. How she said, Meghana from counseling psychology. She will share. We won't teach that one, that students will teach to other students. And that is the opinion shared. Yes. Number of students they used to share in their one. That is called the shared learning system. Here is a nice example. Uday Prakash from MSc Biotechnology. He taught one concept, the reason. Very nice students. I think he is now the entrepreneur also. He started his own business. Nice student from MSc Biotechnology. He created and he taught for other students in this subject. Likewise, our MCA students will teach the other students how this can be programmed. So the classroom contains MCA students, data science students, economic student, English student, journalism student, psychology, all this group. So each student will share their view. So finally, it achieved the concept of interdisciplinary. Because why we are introducing generic elective paper? For the purpose of interdisciplinary knowledge. So we plan the outcome in such a manner. So this course should have the shared learning outcome. We achieved that one. That is why we created this one. This is mandatory. In case of single group, what I showed in case of leadership, all our students shared as a leader of one organization. This is having the weightage in QS ranking for 10%. So when we are going to the next level of LMS, we need all those things. Then is the complex scenario. In case of higher education, this is not applicable for students who are studying in schools or even undergraduate. They are telling if a student is moving to the higher education, he must be able to solve the scenarios. Then only he will have the essential skill. That is the purpose of how we are giving training to the students to solve the complex scenarios. When you are creating the evaluation pattern in your LMS, it should be there. Without teaching that one, if you ask the question, it is irrelevant. So your LMS should contain the how we are doing the complex scenarios. You can see an example. One of the nice example from one paper called Global Business Strategy. I have taken the nice thing, Osday cultural dimension theory. All are in hints form. It will contain the live examples. How it is happening in each and every country. Then once they read that one, a case will be given. You can see the question is McDonald question. How McDonald is offering and accommodate cultural differences in countries like India and Japan. They are able to solve that one, a case study. And this case study should part of your LMS. You can't say that I won't give, I will directly ask in the exam. It is impossible. Here is another example, same thing. Cultural values of the McDonald's, how they created. The student mentioned. And they used to identify the different scenarios. If the McDonald's is in one country, how it will be. You can see some of our students answer. Most of the students answered clearly. Now you can see. Yes, here you can see Pooja. He mentioned that if he is in Qatar, how it will be. Another student, if he is in McDonald's in Bangladesh, but it is not that, how it will be. In case of France, how it will be. There is no McDonald's in Bangladesh. So how this problem will come to Bangladesh? We have to introduce McDonald's. So what type of things you have to take? That is the complex scenario. Here one person said he created in case of South Korea. how to solve this such a problem in case of South Korea. That is the scenarios. Scenarios are given. Each and every student will take. Here you can see Sania has taken the Malaysian example. That is the concept of solving the complex scenario. We should not ask directly in the exam section how you will solve that problem, because our grid won't accept. We may say that we thought inside the class, but there is no proof. In case of advanced level ranking, there should be a proof. So best thing you can inform the students, they can practice. They are doing. You can see most of the students did well. You can see their image, they performed inside the class. Based upon that, only your case study should be there. We can't go for without teaching inside the class. That is the purpose why we have to teach in higher level education that how to solve the complex scenarios. That is how they created. And finally, once all these things are completed, then only we can go for the AI performance analytics. Of course, I already told there are 3 softwares currently used by different people. There are a number of softwares, but these 3 are used in different countries. Gradiscope, all those things. You can integrate with that software and measure the students' level even every day. Inside the classroom, we will ask them to do the activity, and every day you can measure. Simple click, you can find out, measure. There is no need for reading, but you have to define the rubrics in advance. Once you plan your LMS clearly, and if your rubrics are neatly defined once, you need not worry for the particular semester. Automatically, it will evaluate and give the answer. How we can do? This is a nice thing. You can also read AI-based learning management system. First step, you have to enable the smart grid. I already told. Your LMS should have everything. That is a smart grid, so that you can ask any questions. Then enable the smart content. You have to take a PDF. If you are not integrating MOOC with any software directly, simply right click and take a printout in PDF file and send the input to the software which is using the AI. But only thing, your content should be taken in a single file, single web page. Then you have to input the rubric for the question paper, or you can input the rubric already well defined. And you can give to the software for evaluation. This will take few seconds only. You will get the nice result. Here is an example what I created for the standardization of rubrics for the high-stake leadership course. You can see that one. Yes, rubrics are well defined. And we define the, yes, I will go to the back. The rubrics are well defined here. The first itself, for the first part, we used to give the rubrics neatly, and we used to inform the students about that one. In your presentation, what should be there? You can see empathy, how to develop, all those things. We used to explain the students nicely so that he knows what type of answer he can give for that one. So this is standard rubrics we defined already. It is available in the LMS. And we will inform. Then once it is there, you can give in the form of chat or in the form of forums. Yes. Yes. Every day, whatever you are teaching inside the class, once the teaching is over, whether it is blended learning or online learning, students will create the chat. Nowadays, our teaching is less, only activities are more. That is what the Skill Sector Council is expecting. Students can read and understand. After reading and understand, student will answer like that. Once they answered, simply copy that one. Since in case of Christian College, we are not integrated with AI. Soon we are going to do. Now at present, what we are doing, we are taking the chat, copy and paste it in the software. Immediately, it will give the result. You can see each and every student. Reshma, it is given the mark and it will give what is the strength, what is the improvement you need. This is taken from the kaleidoscope. So everyday chat, we can copy and paste since it is not integrated. Once the smart contents are integrated, we can use this directly. But here, what we are doing, we are copying and pasting in the software and it will read and it will give the marks for the students for the improvement. A smart feedback. Students not only get grade, but also knows what they are lacking, what is their improvement they need. And at present, we are sending in the WhatsApp clearly. And the students are now adjusted with that one. That is how AI can be. We need not go for defining the AI. Now, standardized AIs are there. You can simply copy and paste. Only thing, the rubric should be well defined. If the rubrics are well defined and your contents are clear, no need, by simple click, you will know all those things. Whether our students understood what you are teaching inside the class. That is the automated feedback mechanism. So we will also know what is the level of our students, whether the students are studying according to our expectations. Maybe there are a number of challenges, but this feedback is needed when you want to improve the skill level of our students, or if you want to achieve the outcomes based upon the industry needs. That is needed. That is the purpose of that one. You can see some of the feedbacks given by our students, the high stake leadership for students. Of course, they are telling the challenges also carrying laptop is difficult, but most of the students, once we sample said, everything is going well. First 2 or 3 days, they find it difficult. Why this thing, what to do, how to do. Once students are trained, automatically everything will go successfully. That is the sample we tested nicely, went on well. Of course, the main challenge, we need laptop for all the students. Students should bring, and your teaching is less, but activity should be high. And every day inside the classroom, we have to perform the activity. We can't stand in the front, only in the back. That is the main challenge here. But then only we can see what is happening inside the classroom, what they are doing with their laptop. You can see inside the class. Even students can perform the activity. Once the activity they are doing, immediately it is measured and we will create a smart grid and the outcome will happen. Students know immediately. Main challenge is like that. Every student should come with their laptop. Every student should open their LMS. And even if you are teaching from practice, it should be there. And you have to give the thinking power to the students. Only evaluation is done by AI, but your contents are very important. If you are giving to AI, it will give some other contents. You have to design. Best thing, you can refer the other universities, standard universities, manual, and take back what is the standard textbooks they are using. Pearson, Guru is now doing well, and Francis Taylor, they created a nice thing which you can integrate with your LMS. Likewise, now most of the publishers, they created the standards for that one. First level we can use, then we can practice, then we can go for the higher level to achieve the QS ranking. These are all the major challenges what we face. So as a wrap-up note, if you are able to create a smart content and smart rubrics, your smart grading will be good. You will know about your students, how far outcome we achieved. Very important thing, the accuracy and fairness is very important. We will go for inclusiveness, not for equality, not for equity. Inclusiveness we will achieve. That is the concept of this type of smart content in the smart classroom. That is why my suggestion, integrate with the smart grids, create your LMS as a grid, move towards the automation. Definitely, with the near future, automation will come. But automation cannot be done without teacher. If you are a good teacher, you have to do. You will know about your students. First activity, one single multiple choice, you will assign and you will know about your students. Then you will plan clearly. That is the conclusion. And nicely, I wish to thank my students, especially the MCA students, Ajit, Chetan, and Ibrahim Godfrey, who helped us to do number of simulation to create a smart grid. These three students taken the lead how to create a smart grid because we tried number of times assessment failed. But I wish to thank the Ibrahim Godfrey of MCA, then Ajit and Cherian. These people taken only if you follow the LMS standard, Scorpio standard, we are able to achieve. They identified that one. I learned from my students. Then we checked with few students, nicely with economic students. I think MA economic student Tirupati Irderaj. He first identified what are all the pitfalls. Then they one student from journalism, one student from English. She helped us to create the actionable path with nice insight. Then the Uday Prakash of life science, he only identified how to create the learning outcomes with shared people. Then Ashwin Joseph from psychology department. And finally, the benefits goes to Malcolm, Reshma, and Alex of MBA department. They clearly find out the bugs and given the output to Ajit, Chetan, and Ibrahim Godfrey how to change. So based upon that, we learned and we produce. Thank you, their team and our LMS team, given the nice suggestion. Thank you, Pandian sir, and their team who helped us to explore all those things. If you are having any doubts, I will try to answer. Now, the ball is in your court.
Thank you, Baba sir, for that very interesting session. The session is now open for queries. Dear participants, you may unmute and ask your questions.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, it's audible to you?
Yes, sir. Audible to me.
Sir, my question is that we're talking about the content is more important for LMS. So how should we make the proper content? Can you give some light on this topic?
Yes, that is why I told proper content should have basically what I mentioned as per the UNESCO standards. I think one of the slides I mentioned all those things. Your content should come under the smart grid system. You have to create a smart grid. The smart grid starts from all these things. Adaptive learning path, what I explained, then phased content, architectural walkthrough, and leaderboards, bridging theory to practice, shared learning, then very important navigation, the complex situation. All these are all necessary in your content. Once this content is correct, then only we can go for the next type, we can go for smart grading.
Okay, so now that means basically we have to make content from journal to a specific kind of thing.
Yes. All the content should be inside your LMS.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Any more questions, dear participants? You can also type your queries in the chat. I think everybody is very clear with the session. If there are no more queries, share, okay.
Can I add only one point?
Yes.
Baba said, actually, our Moodle, the LMS, what we are using, we are following Scrum, 1.2. And then we have XAPI also. That is nothing but, automatically the plugin, when we install, it follows the XAPI standard.
Yes.
And we have LTA also. We have integrated some of the plugins as a third party. Some plugins are Moodle owned, some are the third party. So very wonderful presentation. I really appreciate you touched upon each and every, the services, what we can use in our, LMS, what we are using today in our Kristu Jayanti College. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, Pandian sir. Pandian sir is the person who started the MOOC module here in our Kristu Jayanti College. He is the role model for us.
Yes, sir. Avatar Singh, you want to ask something? Okay, sir. I think we will wind up now. Thank you, Baba sir, for familiarizing us with smart grading techniques which are integrated with the LMS, namely GradeScope, CrowdMark, Ekinti, Smart Grid, utilized by reputed universities globally, which helps in facilitating 100% fairness in evaluation. You explained to us how to create rubrics aligned with the content in LMS and why we need smart LMS content, which provides dynamic and engaging ecosystem, which is based on the outcome and based on UNESCO initiatives, which emphasizes on inclusion. We could understand how QS ranking is based on the standard of LMS, which could deliver industrial training on real-time optimization. Thank you for enlightening us on adaptive learning path, phase content rollout, architectural walkthroughs mapped with COs, leaderboards, and shared learning system. So the crux of the session is enable smart grid, enable smart content, enable smart rubric, and integrate with smart evaluation. Thank you, sir, for that very informative session on smart grading techniques using rubrics and feedback tools in LMS. And we are sure that we will consider the concepts we learned now while preparing our LMS content and integrate smart grading techniques and thus deliver fairness in evaluation. Thank you once again on behalf of MMTC, UGC, and Kristu Jayanti College. Now, we are breaking for lunch. We shall resume back at 1:45 p.m. for the third session on research process by Professor Bibhu Prasad Sahu. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, madam.